Greater Sandton and beyond. Get ready for the SANDTON Times Hour
with your host,
Alexander.
Welcome. This is the SANDTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 FM and as always, available as a podcast on Apple, Google and Spotify. My name is Alexander Leipner. This is edition 84, week 38 of the SANDTON Times Hour, and we're still in September 2022. If you want to get in touch, you can email editor@sandtontimes.co.za, or you can connect on social media at SANDTON Times. We can visit the website, www.sandtontimes.co.za. Send us your questions, your comments, and your thoughts. It's always great to hear from you. And as you know, you're part of the conversation and you're part of the SANDTON Times Hour Nation if you're listening to this. Thank you for making the time every week to listen and to show your support as you tune in from all around the world and greater parts of South Africa. From the heart of darkness, wherever you are, to the heart of darkness in Sandton, I'm happy to report to you that all is well in Sandton land. And Vincenzo, you're back again. I'm glad you made it through Mixfest. How was it? Good. Okay, great. You had a good time. And I see there were a lot of you there on Saturday. It looks like you had a smashing time. I was there for some of the afternoon. And congratulations to the team who made it all happen, and of course to you for coming out and supporting local talent. The WhatsApp line is open as well as the social media channels, so please feel free to make use of those and to share your thoughts, your feedback, your comments. And let's have a quick look at the week that was in my diary. Well, wow, Queen Elizabeth II passed away, and we're going to touch on that briefly in this coming hour. Then 21 years since September 11th this past weekend. I'm sure you can remember exactly where you were when that unfolded, and it'd be great to hear from you, where you were. I can remember very clearly where I was, and it's unbelievable how time has just passed so quickly. 21 years. Then I had a fabulous dinner at a new spot in Rosebank called Chunky Chow, Pan-Asian restaurant, with some unbelievable decor and some really great eye for detail when it comes to experience. And I'll be posting a review up on the website later this week here to tell you all about Chunky Chow. Then I played some golf on Friday with BMW Sandton at nowhere else but the River Club. Let me tell you, what a swanky place. The River Club. It was a long, hot day. I had a great 4-ball. A very gracious 4-ball, let's put it that way. I saw parts of the River Club that I think very few people have seen. It was really an off-road experience for me, and I think I got my money's worth. If I'd paid for that round of golf, I think I would have really gotten the mileage. I have a feeling we get a phone call from Discovery Vincenzo. I think Vitality wants to know what happened on Friday. Why I got so many steps in. Unbelievable. And then I got stung by a bee in the hand, let me tell you. And then you have to still play golf. A big thank you to Matthew, Danica, and the team at BMW Sandton for the invitation and for allowing an avid golfer to be part of your very prestigious golf day. Let me tell you, the winner of this goes to Sun City and then represents South Africa in this internal BMW tournament in Mauritius. And I'm proud to say that Ethel, who played on my team, she won for the ladies. So she's going to Sun City in January. And strength to you, Ethel, on taking something home at Sun City. The National Geographic, they launched their new programming to the media this week. And let me tell you, there's some very cool content on the horizon. And we also had a chance to ask Bear Grylls some questions. Hey, Bear Grylls. I felt like Bear Grylls at the River Club this past week on Friday playing golf. Anyway, coming up on this week's episode, she's one of the longest serving monarchs in history, and her passing has left both sorrow and questions as to how this moment signals a new era for the UK and, of course, the Commonwealth. I'll be catching up with a former colleague of mine on the ground in England for an update. Then it's a service we've most likely all used more than once, and it's bringing a whole list of new features on board. I'll be getting an update for you, so stay listening. After that, geeks, gamers, and comic book fans unite as one of the biggest expos focused on all things comics returns to Johannesburg, and I'll be getting all the details for you. And finally, if you're a major foodie, or you're looking for a bougie date night idea, then I have a secret to reveal right at the end of this hour. You won't want to miss this one. Your headlines for the week are coming up shortly, but as always, a bit of music to set the tone for the hour ahead.
You're listening to the SANTON Times Hour.
This is the SANTON Times Hour, and that was Mpho and Dodoni with Bittersweet Symphony, featuring Emily on Mix 93.8 FM. And it's time to take a look at your headlines for this week. Well, load shedding is back again. And we were on stage 3 towards the end of last week. Then we moved up to stage 4 on the weekend, and then back to stage 3. And then, fingers crossed, stage 2 for the rest of the week until Friday, unless something else changes. In an Eskom statement, it reads, a generation unit at Kendal was forced offline for emergency repairs, while a unit each at Majuba, Letabo, and Camden power stations, as well as Hydro de Cahora Bassa in Mozambique, were shut down for critical plant maintenance in preparation for the week ahead. So, will a trio and the Night Hob set out to conquer the nothing across the desert of shattered hopes and the swamps of sadness through the magic mirror gate, onwards to the sea of possibilities, and restore power to the Tutuka power station at Ingula pumped storage scheme with the help of the old man of the Wandering Mountain? Stay watching in this never-ending story reimagined. I don't know about you, but when is enough too much? This is unbelievable, this load shedding story. And I know we shouldn't complain. I mean, I suppose we should, but we shouldn't. Anyway, let me just move on. There's an arsonist wanted. The individual believed to be responsible for many arson attacks in and around the Johannesburg area has been identified by police in Gauteng. The past few months have seen a number of documented occurrences of arson, all of which are thought to have been committed by a lone arsonist who breaks into houses, steals things, and then sets the house on fire, mostly in the eastern and northern parts of Johannesburg. Now, you might have heard of some of these stories. I think there's quite a few other media who've reported on this as well. Well, the SAPS is now looking for a man by the name of Sentius Novans, who is suspected to be involved in multiple cases. And if you know where to find him, you can contact Crime Stop Line on 08600 10111. Alternatively, you can drop an anonymous tip-off, which you can report on the My SAPS application, which can be downloaded on any smartphone. And then dark kitchens, and this is not related to any load shedding story, let me tell you. Dark kitchens, well, Hyatt House Rosebank and Hyatt House Sandton are doubling up as dark kitchens that serve fast food deliveries, reports Fin24. Food that is only prepared for delivery generally comes out of something called a dark kitchen. So a dark kitchen isn't necessarily a kitchen that only or sells food to a restaurant. They only sell via food delivery apps. And the two kitchens serve Faruqi's Daba and Gimba food brands on Uber Eats, which are currently available in the Rosebank and Sandton areas, both South Asian and African cuisine. So if you're into that kind of food, you better check it out. Faruqi's Daba and Gimba on your Uber Eats app. Let's leave it right there for the headlines for this week. Next, we head to England to chat to seasoned journalist Chris Bishop for all the latest on the passing of Queen Elizabeth II right after the break.
Connect with the SANTON Times. Email editor@santontimes.co.za. From Greater Sandton to the rest of the world, this is the SANTON Times Hour.
One of the biggest stories of this week, and surely for the next couple of weeks, is going to be the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, also known as Lilibet to some who are big followers of the crown. And, wow, I mean, it's amazing how this one woman has impacted so many lives around the world in more ways than one, and so many people sort of feel at this moment for the UK, the royal family, and I thought it would be great to just touch on this this week, and I'm thrilled to be joined by an ex-colleague of mine, Chris Bishop, who's a journalist and founding editor of Billionaire Tomorrow. He joins me from the United Kingdom, and Chris, it's great to be chatting to you again.
Yes, Alex, nice to speak to you too.
Well, Chris, what is the mood like at the moment in the UK?
she's been a part of a lot of people's lives. I mean, again, every time you look at a banknote, she'll always she looks back at you. Incredible. A lot of people here are talking about it, obviously, from around the world. A lot of people are very sad. Some people are like in every country. You have people who didn't like her, who criticized her and the royal family. I mean, you look at the latest shenanigans with Prince Andrew and also with Prince Harry and Meghan, all that stuff. A lot of people have lost a bit of respect, but the lady herself, I mean, the general feeling about her, a lot of people say, oh, poor woman, she had so much to put up with. I mean, all the family, you know, the changing of the monarch, the changing of the perception of the royal family. But one thing you can say about her, it was a job she never wanted to do, really. Her father died very young. She was in Kenya with her newlywed husband, Prince Philip, when she got the news that she was queen, rushed back to London. And as a young woman, that was it. She was suddenly thrust into this stiff world of the royals. She was suddenly made to be, you know, grow up very quickly and become a diplomat and all the things you have to be. And I think she would have rather done something else, to be honest with you. But she did her job. She stuck to her lane. She was very, very conscientious. One thing about this country as well, which is quite interesting, is that a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, I saw her. I met her. I was there." She was out there amongst the people. She wasn't locked away. She wasn't behind a load of security guards all the time. A bit like sort of compare this passing to that of Nelson Mandela in 2013, in the fact that a lot of people have got a lot of connection with her, and it's going to be a huge mourning process here for about 10 to 12 days before she's finally buried in Windsor Castle next to Prince Philip, her husband. So it's going to be quite a few days here ahead in the UK.
Well, you've touched on it now. I mean, you were behind the television news desk when Nelson Mandela passed away, and it was a very similar kind of situation where he'd also fallen sick. There was a lot of speculation that something would potentially happen over the next couple of days, and then the inevitable did happen. Do you feel like it's a similar moment in the UK?
Yes, I think, because again, like Mandela, I mean, a lot of people grew up with Mandela in their minds in South Africa. And when he came out of prison, when he became head of state, there was a lot of affection around the world. I mean, the Queen herself obviously called on him a few times in her time here. Yeah, and again, as you know, there are some people who don't like Nelson Mandela either. There's always going to be detractors. I've seen stuff online today which, you know, I wouldn't have said about somebody if they just passed away, really, honestly. But people are out there saying terrible things. But it is a bit like that. You know, you've got a world name, an icon. And if you think about it, if you mention two names on this planet, Nelson Mandela and the Queen, everyone knows who you're talking about. You don't have to say the Queen of where. Again, just talking about this public service, I can't emphasize it enough. I mean, even just a couple of days ago, when Liz Truss, the new Prime Minister, she was about to take her form a new government. You have to go and meet the Queen and kiss her hand and all that stuff. And the Queen was very, very ill in Balmoral in Scotland. So Liz Truss had to fly up there to see her. But apparently, according to her aides, the Queen was saying, "Oh, well, can't we fly down to London to save everyone the trip?" I mean, she was in no fit state to go, but that's what she was thinking right up to the end. And I think a lot of leaders not in Africa and around the world could take a leaf out of that book and say, look, leadership's tough. It's hard, but, you know, if you put something into it, it's worthwhile.
Look, I can only echo those sentiments. I think if we can find someone else who's willing to do a job for 70 years, rock up for work when you're not feeling well and still do your last bit of business 2 days before your passing, then we can have a conversation. And you're welcome to jump on this chat, and we can have a chat about how to do things. And I mean, the same way the Queen also just led in such a consistent, very reserved, stoic way is also just absolutely remarkable. But Her Majesty also had quite a bit of experience in Africa as well, on a diplomatic and on a socio-economic level. And Chris, you've obviously traversed Africa from west to east to south to north. You take us through maybe a little bit of her life and her relationship with Africa.
Yeah, well, I mean, she visited 20 countries in her time. I think I've visited more than 20 countries as a journalist. I'm very proud of that. But I think one thing this passing brings into focus, how the royal family is a bit of an anachronism now in Africa. It's almost more nostalgia than it is present. But having said that, I mean, one of the things that the Queen and the royal family have was this like soft power, in the fact that if you say to somebody, we want investment from you, or we want to do a trade deal with you, we're going to send the CEO of the company, or we're going to send our prime minister or our chancellor of the exchequer. That's one thing. But if the Queen comes and says, well, I think it's quite a good idea that we have this trade deal, I think it's quite a good idea we do more business with you. It's a bit grander in terms of a negotiating position to be in. But I think, when you look at it, I mean, she made a speech from South Africa when she was 21, talking about the Comity of Nations across Africa when she's still a princess. She was great friends with Kenneth Kaunda. She visited, as I say, 20 countries. I mean, even one of the most famous incidents was in 1961. She thought that newly independent Ghana was going to go over to the Soviet Union in Cold War days, and that was it. They were going to be lost to the Commonwealth, which, again, you can say cynically in this current age, you could say Commonwealth was like the British Empire on the cheap, but it's still a sort of confederation of nations and cooperation. So she actually went for a visit to Ghana and to go and see Kwame Nkrumah, the first president of independent Ghana. And famously, she danced with him. I think the Crown has eulogized it now. She danced with him on the dance floor. And bearing in mind, there was still a Calabar in the United States. Obviously, South Africa had apartheid. The world was a different place in the 60s. And she danced with him, and it helped ease the diplomatic wheels. I mean, I think that shows what diplomatically how savvy she was, etc., etc. But ultimately, I think that King Charles III, now we look forward to him, what he's going to bring. But I just think the whole world has changed, in her time. And you look at the 1950s, it was still fairly. Most of the nations in Africa, they weren't independent, they weren't free, they weren't under majority rule, and now everybody has been free since '94. So it's just an interesting closing of one chapter and opening up of a new one.
Yeah, and that always brings a little uncertainty, a little anxiety, I suppose. And like you said, you're now facing God Save the King, not God Save the Queen anymore. And I don't think in our lifetime we'll ever be hearing the words God Save the Queen again. It'll probably be king for quite some time. If you look at sort of the line of order in terms of who comes next, depending on who stays and who goes. What can we expect to see unfolding over the next couple of days and weeks in the UK? I mean, it is a bit unprecedented. We have seen a coronation before, but this will be the first for many.
Yeah, I mean, the first is 1952. King Charles III, I was just thinking last night, hopefully it's third time lucky. King Charles I was beheaded by his own people. King Charles II, he died heirless. We had lots of children, but none of them were legitimate. His rule came to a bit of an abrupt end. And hopefully now King Charles III, he's had one of the longest waits in history to ascend to the throne. I mean, 50 years or something. He now is going to be people looking to him. But I mean, I think the lucky thing for him, he is quite sort of, how can I put it, forward-looking in terms of the royals. He's into the climate change. He's into architecture, all that sort of stuff. But also he's got the old school imprint of his mother, and that terms of continuity. It's going to be different. It's going to be difficult for him. I think now his great challenge is trying to keep the monarchy alive. You only have to read the papers to see what's been happening in the last sort of decade. I mean, you look at Prince Andrew, the Queen had to pay 12 million. I mean, one of the jokes in this country was they said the grand old Duke of York, he had 12 million quid. He gave it to a woman he didn't know for something he never did. I mean, it's nonsense, really. I mean, but then you've got all the fighting with Harry and Meghan and all this uncertainty, and William fighting with his brother. I mean, it's very difficult, and it's very public now. I mean, in the old days, probably we wouldn't have known those things. It all kept behind closed doors. It's very public. And I think he's got to update the monarchy, and he's got to show its relevance still. I mean, are they going to be some little, like the Belgians or whatever, the Dutch, or some little corner office, yes, we've got a monarch, or are they going to, still make it a vibrant office that aids the state? I don't know. It's up to Charlie now. I mean, but again, hopefully it's third time lucky.
Well, third time lucky indeed. Chris Bishop, journalist and founding editor of Billionaire Tomorrow. Go Google it and check it out. And I thank you for taking the time to join us all the way from the UK. This is the SANDTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 FM, and we're going to take a quick musical break.
Back for more?
The SANDTON Times Hour continues.
Yes, the SANDTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 FM, and that was Topic, Robin Schulz, Nico Santos, Paul van Dyk, all of them with In Your Arms. You might recognize the tune For an Angel, one of Paul van Dyk's massive hits. Taking you into the second half of the SANDTON Times Hour, my name is Alexander Leipner, and you know the drill. If there's anything that sounded good during the show, but you didn't manage to get all the details, be sure to visit the show notes on www.sandtontimes.co.za for a detailed breakdown of everything and anything discussed on this week's edition. Also, be sure to check out the social media accounts at SANDTON Times and feel free to engage. You can send a tweet, a WhatsApp, a DM, a voice note. Whatever works for you. And don't forget, you can also use the hashtag SANDTON Times Hour. Now, a service that many of us have used in one way or another is Uber and Uber Eats. And I remember there was a time before Uber, and then suddenly there was a time when Uber existed and we couldn't remember what it was like when they didn't exist. And it's become sort of like a default, even from a conversation perspective. And ahead of their 10th anniversary in Africa next year, I thought, well, it's a good time to check in. And joining me is Mpho Sebelebele. She is head of communications for Uber South Africa. And Mpho, you guys are sitting just ahead of a milestone in Africa. What has it been like for the business as you've been rolling out over the last 10 years?
Thank you so much for having me on your show. We're actually quite fortunate to have had the overwhelming support of both drivers and riders across sub-Saharan Africa. So in Africa, we're actually split into two regions. So there's North Africa, which is our Egypt business. And we've got SSA, which actually is composed of seven countries within sub-Saharan Africa. So in totality, we're now sitting at over 60 cities that we actually operate in across those different regions. So from the time when Uber started in 2013, we definitely did not actually think we were going to get to this level of growth so quickly. And it's definitely because of the overwhelming support that we've received, even across eaters and delivery people. So we're very proud of the milestone recently, having had completed a billionth trip within Africa. I mean, if you think about it, it's pretty much equivalent to filling up Soccer City 5,000 times the amount of people that we've managed to move around. So it's definitely humbling, the support that we've received.
Amazing, yeah, and I can say I think I've used your services outside of South Africa, and when we're talking about the rest of Africa, I think once in Kenya I've used it in Cairo, which is another experience for another day, and it's quite incredible how it just seamlessly goes from one country to another, and it almost feels like you're in your own backyard. Uber Eats, from what I know, I mean, you can order your burger and your chicken and your whatever your heart desires in terms of food. This new development where you can now suddenly order all kinds of other things that are not necessarily edible, this is a whole new direction that you're going into. And I think if I remember reading something, it said anything that anyone needs in 30 minutes. Is this going to be competing sort of head on with online retailers?
I mean, ultimately, we are building an app of the future. And what that means is that anything and everything that you require as a consumer, we want to be able to provide it for you. Uber Eats was actually built on the concept of being able to get food really, really fast, right? But now we've actually realized the power of the platform actually doesn't only lie on food. It actually lies in so many other consumer goods that we as consumers need, especially those that we need very, very quickly. I'm a mom of 3 girls. So at times I'm having to deal with emergency, having to refill the diaper shelves quite quickly because I completely forgot that we ran out. So that's the convenience of being able to get something very quickly when you need it. If you look at how we've evolved beyond even categories of convenience and grocery, we've recently onboarded DJ Zinhle's brand Era. So looking at jewelry, looking at even traditional herbs that you can actually find. And a lot of these merchants that we're onboarding that fall within the new vertical space are actually local businesses that wouldn't have necessarily have access to the market in the way that the app has provided them.
So if you need sort of toilet paper at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night or I don't know, a watch or a pair of shoes, there might be an opportunity in future that you might be ordering it on Uber Eats.
Absolutely. I mean, season is changing. People are looking at summer clothes. I mean, we have some, merchants that are even selling bikinis, so you can get your bikini and your burger literally at the touch of a button. So the opportunities to really diversify are quite endless.
Paul, I don't want to say too much, but I'm worried if you're ordering burgers, the bikini might not be the one that you'll be ordering. I think it's going to be, you're going to have to be ordering salads at that point if you're going to be buying the bikini as well. But anyway, let's move on quickly. You've also launched an audio recording security feature. This is something that's just come out from Uber. Just tell us a little bit more about that. How does that work?
I mean, we're really excited to be launching this in South Africa. So we're piloting audio recording. And what that is you as a rider or even a driver are able to record the trip that you take in any instance, even at any point in the trip. So whether it's at the beginning of the trip or in the middle of a trip, you decide you need to record it. That recording is actually encrypted. So we've built it with safety and privacy in mind to be able to allow for that peace of mind for riders, that we're actually using it for incidents around safety that may actually occur. It allows us to really provide a more adjudicated way of treating and investigating cases to make sure that we actually are taking the corrective measures and that it's not a he said, she said, type of situation.
Well, in this case, you'll be able to say what he said and what she said, but how does this work practically? So I'll get into the car, and then will it automatically start recording, or will the driver, or will I advise the driver, or the driver will advise me that he will now press record on the audio recording on the app, and we're all aware of that whatever conversation we're going to have over the next 15, 20, half an hour, minutes is going to be recorded?
Sure. So how it works, say in the instance of a rider, so on your app, your driver will be accepting. It will say, so-and-so has accepted your trip. They're on their way. The minute you get into the car, it obviously tells you that, okay, you're heading to this direction. You will literally have got that feature popping up as part of your trip information for you to actually press manually to say, I would like to record this trip. So it doesn't automatically record because of the opt-in feature that we've built in. We want people to have the freedom of choice to be able to whether to record or not. And when it does record, on the driver's side, it will show that this person that you are transporting potentially is recording. So very similar to how you call into a call center and says, this call may be recorded. It's also two-way. So the driver will also know if the rider is actually recording and vice versa. So there's transparency all around in terms of which trips are actually recorded and may actually be recorded.
Okay. And I mean, it's also probably meant to be used at a moment where things are maybe getting a bit heated or things are getting into a difficult position. I mean, I've had some great conversations in Ubers with some of the drivers. They've got some incredible stories to share, but I don't necessarily want to have those recorded for for historical purposes.
Absolutely. I mean, we still want people to have the freedom to be relaxed and be able to have the conversations that they would naturally have if they were not being recorded. The recording is actually not intended to just capture data for the sake of it. It's actually intended to provide a better adjudication process should something happen. That recording, it actually automatically, when the trip ends, it ends the recording, or you can opt to end it yourself if you want to end it before the trip ends. And once the recording stops, it actually gets stored into the Uber app cloud. No one actually has access to it. No you, no the driver, no Uber. Only when you as a rider say, hey, there was an incident that happened and I'd like to report this. And you have the option to then say, I'm giving Uber access to decrypt this file for this trip so that they can actually investigate. That's actually the main reason why we have it installed, is to be able to investigate thoroughly those cases that are actually of safety concerns.
Well, so much more to discuss, but time is not on our side. Mpho Sebelebele, Head of Communications for Uber South Africa, thank you so much for making the time to be on the SANDTON Times Hour.
Follow the SANDTON Times on social media.
At SANDTON Times.
Well, it's that time of the year again when people who are into gaming, if you're into comics, if you're into cartoons, animation, and everything in between, get to venture out into the world and get to do the thing they love doing so much. And maybe even if you're not, maybe you're just curious, or maybe you're just into elements of it. Well, Comic-Con Africa 2022 is around the corner, and I thought, well, let's get someone on to chat about this, maybe to induct those who've never been and to encourage those who have been many a times over the last couple of years. Thrilled to be joined by Carla Massmann. She's the show director for Comic-Con Africa. And Carla, thank you so much for joining us on the SANDTON Times Hour.
Thanks so much for having me, Alex. It's good to be here.
Well, Carla, tell us a little bit more about Comic-Con. For someone who's never been to Comic-Con, what is the show all about?
Well, I think you pretty much put it in a nutshell there. It's about comics, art, and everything in between. I think for those who've never been to Comic-Con Africa, it's the ultimate pop culture and gaming festival, featuring everything from comics, international film and series celebs, cosplay. We've got 2 new additions to the show this year, which is opening and broadening to a bigger crowd called StreetCon and StreamerCon. So it really is everything. But I think anybody out there who enjoys or loves a superhero or a good superhero story should be at the show.
Absolutely. And like I suppose you've sort of pointed in the right direction, that it's not just for people who are hardened gamers or who enjoy dressing up as a character from Lord of the Rings or a character from one of the many animated series out there and decides to come along. It's not just for those people. It's also for people who might just be curious or who might just be sort of part-time fans who can come along and enjoy this show.
100%. No, definitely. I think there's something for everyone. I mean, goodness gracious, our pop culture hall, which is one of our biggest halls, features collectibles, comic books, all merchandise, everything everyone wants to see and shop for. And I think we've got KidsCon too, which is another whole dedicated hall, which also makes it the ultimate family day out. So everything for Comic-Con for the kids. And we've actually seen the parents enjoy that hall a hell of a lot more than the kids do. So it really does have something for everyone. It's not just your gamers or your pop culture lovers. We've seen many people come to the show in the previous years and be completely converted because it really does become a full weekend out.
Well, I suppose you've probably hinted at that. It's probably like a great disguise for some parents just to get out and indulge their own entertainment. Never mind some of the kids'.
In fact, all adults who come to Comic-Con, really, it's a chance to be just that grown-up kid. You get to live and the nostalgia, and never mind superheroes, and you get to dress up like a really big dress-up party. I mean, who doesn't enjoy going to a dress-up party? Yeah, everybody comes out dressed up. It's an amazing atmosphere.
Well, it's happening 22nd to 25th of September at the Johannesburg Expo Centre. Have you got any big draw cards coming to the show this year? I know it's always been known to be the kind of show where you bring in international celebrities, the likes of those characters who've played in Marvel movies or, and similar.
We always bring out some international film and series celebs, as well as international comic book artists, as well as international cosplayers. So we really do bring the world to Africa. Very excited with our talent highlights this year. We will be featuring Selwyn Ward, who's a Red Power Ranger, and Tati Gabrielle, who's very well known for her parts in the latest Uncharted movie, as well as You. And then we've got Ross Butler, which many of our 13 Reasons Why fans will enjoy to come see. He also features in Shazam. And then, of course, the infamous Jamie Campbell-Bower, who is Vecna in Stranger Things, has caused quite a stir.
You take it to the Johannesburg Expo Centre, Nasrec, which is incredibly massive. I mean, they used to have the Rand Show there, and I think the Rand Show these days still battles to fill out every corner of Nasrec. What's the motivation behind taking it there, and how many of those halls are you going to be occupying?
So this year, I think we needed to find the biggest venue in Africa, looking at the imminent growth of the show. In 2018, we launched Comic-Con in South Africa. We launched it at Kailami Racecourse, and we really were expecting about 15,000 people to come through. However, we sold out with about 38,000 people who came to the door. So we had to move because we outgrew that venue and found ourselves at Gallagher, and outgrew that in 2019 with over 71,000 people who came through for the weekend. So it was time to move to the biggest venue, and currently Johannesburg Expo Centre is the biggest venue in Africa. We're not taking over the whole space. We're going to be occupying 3 halls. Those 3 halls will focus on pop culture, gaming, and KidsCon. And we're just ready to now, over the next 3 years, grow into the full venue.
Unbelievable. What are we looking at in terms of entrance prices and any sort of additional events that people can attend?
Well, the great thing about Comic-Con, from a little bit as little as 190 Rand gets you into the show, and that gets you access to all these features. So you get access to comic book artists, you get access to all the cosplay, you get access to KidsCon, to StreetCon, to StreamerCon, talent. You get to see them on the main stage. If you would like an autograph or photo op with them, you purchase that separately. But it really is everything from the food truck villages to the beer villages to a full weekend out for as little as 190 Rand.
Fantastic. Well, there you have it. Carla Massmann. She's the show director for the 2022 Comic-Con Africa, and that's happening from the 22nd to the 25th of September 2022. Carla, thank you for making the time to be on the SANTON Times Hour. And with that, let's take a quick music break.
Connect with the SANTON Times. Email editor@santontimes.co.za.
You're tuned into the SANTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 FM, available also as a podcast straight after our live broadcast. And that's on Apple, Google, Amazon, Spotify, and half a dozen other platforms. So you can pick and choose. That was The Temper Trap with Sweet Disposition. And as we draw ever so near to the end of this week's edition, I promised you that I would let you in on a little secret. More specifically, a SecretEATS. And I'm joined by Darren Meltz. He's the event director for SecretEATS. And Darren, it's so good to have you on the SANTON Times Hour. Tell us a bit more about SecretEATS. How does it work?
Thanks so much, Alex. I really appreciate the time. So SecretEATS is all about curious dining. So our diners don't know where they're going, who's cooking, what's in the menu, any other details for the evening. And they put their trust completely in us. So you go on our website, thesecreteats.com, and you request an invite. And then as soon as our monthly signature dinners are released and our bookings open, you'll receive an email with all the details. And we hint and allude to what could be happening on the evening, just to entice you, get your mouth watering. And then you go and book for the dinner. And then the location gets revealed the morning of the event. And then you come and join us and see what secrets we have in store.
So this is something for the adventurous eater, also for someone who enjoys food that isn't sort of the ordinary dish that you might have on a usual weekday night. This is for someone who enjoys something a little bit more adventurous and certainly a culinary experience. Darren, if you had to look back on some of the SecretEATS that you have had, give us a bit of an idea of what people can expect. I mean, you're not taking them down to the local Wimpy for a burger and chips.
No, not at all. We've hosted in art galleries, rooftops, sometimes even in milkwood forests. We use boutique hotels, just any venue which is unique and off the beaten track. So nowhere where you can just go book a normal dinner and just go sit down and enjoy what's on offer. We always take you to something that's unique.
So it's really a curated and created experience that you're giving people. Like you were saying, also just eating in places that you wouldn't normally eat, and also eating dishes that you probably would normally not be able to order anywhere. Darren, you also host this across the country. It also runs for sort of 2 or 3 consecutive nights. Give us a bit of an idea of how the format works.
So we do the same evening, a mirror image of it from one night to the next for 2 nights. But then once those are done for the month, they never happen again. So we bring together a chef, a wine farm or a unique alcohol sponsor, and the venue. And then we pair everything together and come up with a menu and pairings and an experience specific to the chef in the space and whoever else is involved. And that'll happen on, say, a Friday and a Saturday evening. And then after that evening is gone and never to be experienced again. And the next SecretEATS will be something completely different.
So I get to find out where I'm eating on the day, and then how much do I get to eat? I mean, is it 1 course, 2 courses? Is it 6 courses?
It's 4 courses, and then we also have a welcome drink and a canapé. So there's plenty of food and plenty of drink to go around.
And it's also quite an intimate gathering. I mean, you're not going to be sitting with hundreds of thousands of people. I think you sort of cap it at about 40. Is that right?
It's normally between 20 and 40 guests.
Okay, so 20 to 40 guests sounds very intimate. That sounds very comfortable, and you might also meet some very interesting people. Probably people who are probably interested in food, just like you are, if you decide to go on a SecretEATS. Now, you've got a SecretEATS coming up at the end of September. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes, we have one on the 30th of September and the 1st of October. And that one is titled The Future of Fine Dining. So we have an international chef from the UK who's going to be joining us. and curating the menu along with a whole team of their proteges. So it's going to be a huge team effort, but it's going to be led by this international chef.
Fantastic. And what does this? What does the Secret Eats set people back if they want to have a look into this and maybe book a seat?
It's 1,200 per person. And then sometimes, depending on the venue, we have stayover options where there'll be a room rate, which fluctuates, and then people can book and then stay for breakfast the next morning.
Fantastic. So it's not just one night out. You can actually make a whole feast of it. We'll put all the details up on the SANTON Times show notes on the website if you want to get all those details again. And Darren Meltz, event director for SecretEATS, I thank you for joining us on the SANTON Times Hour. And that's it for another edition of the show on Mix 93.8 FM, and is always available as a podcast on whatever platform you prefer. And enjoy. Make sure that you subscribe, you like, you rate, you do all the good things that you need to do. If you want to get in touch, you can email editor@santontimes.co.za, or you can connect with us on social media @SANTON Times, and you can also visit the website www.santontimes.co.za, and feel free to send through your questions or comments. And it's always good to hear from you. It's good to get your feedback. Thank you to all our guests who made the time to be with us this week. A historical week, a moment in history when the Queen Elizabeth II, passes on, and a new monarch comes to the throne. And a new era starts in not just British politics, in British relations, but also in global relations. And what it means for the monarchy and what it means for the world, well, we wait and see. Vincenzo, thank you as always for doing your bit in the production booth and making sure we sound good every single week. And thank you to the SANTON Times team, as well as everyone on Mix 93.8 FM. Thank you for listening, and let's connect again next week.
That's it for this week. Thanks for listening to the SANTON Times Hour. And if you enjoyed it, be sure to share it.